Hi, and welcome to this week's Cyber Boardroom Podcast. Your hosts, Mark and Steven, will be filling you in on all things cyber and how it impacts your boardroom. Listen and learn each episode on how to get and stay ahead.
Okay, I'll do the intro first and I'll edit everything else out if needed later. Hi, dear
Okay.
listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Sorry, let me do the intro again. Hi,
You're
dear
good.
listeners. Thank you for tuning in for the next episode of the SME Business Podcast. Today we're joined by Chancellor Clay from Trailsend Books. Trailsend Books is a
Uh,
is a realtor arbitrage firm and he operates in the iPhone resale segment as well. Trailsend Books has been around since 2018. Welcome to the show.
Alrighty, well, thank you, sir, for having me on. And so I'll elaborate on what my businesses do. And so I currently run two businesses. One is Trailsend Books, and what we do is we buy books, DVDs, and CDs in wholesale quantities, and then we go through and scan them, and then we list the good ones online that'll sell, and then the bad ones they get donated to various charitable organizations for the tax deduction. And then my second business is Chancellor Electronics. And what we do is we have two parts of the business. The first part of the business is that I run Facebook marketplace ads saying that I buy iPhones locally, and then my profit margins there are about 20 to 30%, and so they're pretty good. And then my second part of the business is I buy and sell iPhones, iPads, and all sorts of electronics in wholesale quantities. And so I'll get in a bulk lot of iPhones and then resell them to other wholesalers, sometimes international wholesalers, for a 5 to 10% markup.
Wow, that's a very good summary. I just want to scale back a little bit. So, can you tell me a bit more about yourself and how you got started and how you got the idea to get started with Tools and Books and the electronics business as well?
Yep. So I'm a 15-year-old entrepreneur, and I've been in the entrepreneur space for the past 2 years. And so my first business that I started was Trailsend Books back in 2018 when I was 13. And so the way that got started is I'm a big book nerd. I love to read just about anything. And so whenever I go into like a thrift store or a general store, I'll bolt back to the book section and just start browsing at the books. And so I'm always looking for the best deal when it comes to buying something. And so I checked the online prices versus the thrift store prices on books, and I noticed a very, very large discrepancy. And so sometimes it'd be like 50 cents for the book here when they're going for like 5, 6, $10 online. And so I bought a couple dozen books, listed them online, and to my surprise, they sold actually very, very well. And so ever since then, I've just been scaling up, buying more and more books, and selling more and more books, and really creating a solid system in order to get these books online. And then with the electronics business, the way I got started with that one is there was a lot of media attention regarding the iPhone 11 launch back in October 2019. And so I noticed the price discrepancy between the iPhone prices on eBay and the iPhone prices on Facebook Marketplace. And so what I did was I watched a few videos on how to resell iPhones, what to do, and I went out and I bought a cracked iPhone 4S for like $9. Now this iPhone was like 10 years old at the time, and so it was a very, very crappy phone. And so anyway, I bought it for $9, and then I sold it on eBay for $25 overnight. And as soon as I did that, I was like, holy smokes! I didn't have to do much to make that profit. And so ever since then, I started flipping like iPhone 6s, 7s, 8s, and it got to the point where now I'm buying the brand new iPhones in wholesale quantities and then wholesaling them to other wholesalers.
Yeah, wow, that's yeah, you cracked the formula. Pun intended, that joke. Yeah, so that sounds great. Yeah. Yeah. So for people that don't know what you're talking about, so can you explain a bit more about what retail arbitrage is?
Yeah. So essentially, what Trails and Books does is we do retail arbitrage. Now, what retail arbitrage is where you buy something for, it can be in some cases like 50 cents or a dollar, like a thrift store or even like a name brand store, and then you resell it for more. And so essentially what we do is we buy wholesale quantities of books from just about anywhere. We do library liquidations, we cherry pick from thrift stores, we even do like local garage sales and just cleaning out people's books. And so what we do is we buy it on the market at a low price, and then we resell it for a very very high margin on the online markets. And so we buy books anywhere from a nickel to a dollar a piece. And then on average, we resell those books depending on what they go for. They can go for anywhere between 5, 10, 15, even $20 per book. And so the markup and the margins are very, very phenomenal.
Yes, yes, yes. And yeah, like sounds like a really good sourcing as well there, where the more you buy in bulk, the better price you get. And
Hmm.
yeah, so it's like a solid business model, and collections keep changing. So books will disappear from collections, and that means that you can step in and buy those and then resell them online. Um,
Hmm.
it's interesting as well. Like sometimes, I think I've seen this as well. Is that some books, because of let's say the current climate or such, some books might disappear because they consider it, let's say, not appropriate anymore. Which then also I've
Hmm.
seen drive up prices as well, because then the book becomes so collectible. Um, I was wondering as well, like off the cuff, is like, have you had any, like experiences where, for instance, you went to a thrift store or such and happened to run into, let's say, first editions and such, where you go like, oh wow, I like did why did these people actually get rid of it?
Yeah, donate them. Yeah, I've had actually a few occasions of that. And so I was in
Yeah,
a
no,
local
I meant
thrift store
like,
in the
yeah. So I
security.
was thinking like, yeah,
So yeah, I was in a local charity thrift store one day, and I came across this astrology set, and it was like a first
yeah,
edition.
go
I was
ahead.
like, yeah, I'll pay like $10 for this 3 volume set. Take a little chance. And I get home, and then I find out that it goes for like $400 online. And so it's just kind of like, oh wow. And so it took a few months to sell just because it was a very, very high, very, very expensive set. But I ended up getting like $425 for that $10 set. And so that has to be like one of the best flips that I've done. Of course, a lot of my flips are much, much smaller than, like turning $10 into $425, but still, the overall margins are very, very good.
Yeah, that's like, yeah, it's great thing, like, and people don't, have to go far, to do that, of course, the bigger you make it, um, yeah, the more, sourcing you have to do, but it's a great idea for people
Hmm.
to at least supplement their income, that kind of thing. So I was wondering
Hmm.
as well, about the whole retail arbitrage. What do you think about people taking up more side hustles like retail arbitrage or similar?
Yeah, one of the best side hustles to get into right now is retail arbitrage, just because there's plenty of sources out there for used goods, and so if you want to get started in retail arbitrage, I highly suggest starting reselling something that interests you or you collect, because that since that thing interests you, you know a lot about it and you're willing to learn more about it. And so in my case, I love reading and I love books, and so I got started in the book business. I also love technology in general, and so I got started also in the iPhone business. And so you want to if you want to get started in the retail arbitrage business, I highly suggest the first thing you do is get started selling something that you like. And so if you like, collectible shoes and you know a lot about collectible shoes, go out and sell collectible shoes. Or if you like technology in general and get started selling used tech. And yeah, just really explore your interests. And with retail arbitrage, you're actually able to monetize your interests.
And that's a great point, because that's where it is. If when you're not interested in it, then it's just becomes like a drag, if you will. Like, you have to do it. Well, if it's your interest, then it becomes more natural. Whereas, like, if you do what
Yeah.
you love, you never work a day in your life. Um,
Yep, I love
of
the
course,
cliche
not every,
saying of, yeah, like you just said. Oh, sorry. I love that. I love the
no,
cliche saying
yeah.
of, you'll never work a day in your life if you enjoy doing what you're doing. Personally, I love running a business and I love reselling the things that I resell just because they interest me. And so I'm not really working a job per se because, a job you dread going to, since I really enjoy reselling and exploring my interests, through the businesses. It's more of like a hobby than an actual job, but a hobby that makes me money.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like gonna say as well. Like what was your best flip? But I think you kind of like already mentioned the book set, or do you have something more amazing than that where you go like, oh wow, I can't believe I found that.
Yeah, so that book set was my best flip so far with books. And then I had a local flip with iPhones. And so a lady, she came at me with a few of her old iPhones that she no longer needed anymore. And so she was just like, "Yeah, I don't know what I can get for them. Just make an offer on them." And I was like, "Okay, how does $500 sound?" And she was like, "Okay, sounds good." And so we met up. I bought her electronics for $500. And then I turned around and sold them to a supplier for it was like 1,200. And so that was a very, very phenomenal flip. Not very many of my flips are like that. Usually when I'm dealing with an iPhone, I'll make, anywhere between 50 and $100 per iPhone. Um, or in some cases where it's like an older iPhone with some damage on it, I'll try to shoot for, 30, $40 on that particular model. And so, not I want to stress that, not all my flips are like these, crazy phenomenal flips. A lot of them are just, little 50, $100 profit flips, but they still add up very, very quickly.
Yes, yes. I was wondering as well. So like with the year almost over, what are your plans for 2021?
So, my family, we're actually moving, and so I have the opportunity to expand my business in 2021. And so, what I want to do is I want to expand the book business to where I rent out a couple storage units and really expand the business because right now I'm handling, between batches of like, 100 to 500 books, but I really want to get into the space of, buying gaylords of books. A gaylord is like a pallet full of books and they can range from like 1 to 3,000 books. And so what I really want to do is I want to get a couple storage units and really expand my operations, expand overall inventory that we offer, and subsequently increase profits. And then with the iPhone business, I really just want to keep snowballing my capital through these wholesale deals, and I really want to become like a full-time iPhone wholesaler, um, just in the future, just because the items that I wholesale, they're like 500 to $1,000 a piece, sometimes a little more. The profit margins, they can range from like 5 to 7% on average for wholesale, but 5 to 7% of on a 500,000, $1,500 device is actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good, overall monetary amount. The margins are slim, but the overall monetary amount makes up for that.
Yeah, and I think that's the point as well. Where like that people forget is like it's one thing, running a shop where you have quite a bit of overheads and like having to pay for a shop as in on the high street. A lot of taxes because you have a shop on the high street. You pay for a lot of staff. While
Hmm.
with retail arbitrage, you're not dealing with a lot of those yeah costs. So um, the margin is higher because your cost base is lower. So yeah, it makes complete sense. And it's good to hear, like you're seeing 2021 as a year to expand. And I think that's all what we all need to see 2021 at because it's not time for us to take steps backwards. It's time for us to all um, take steps forwards and go for it and try to see how we can make 2021 amazing for us and for our families. So yeah. Um,
Hmm.
I was wondering as well, what do you feel governments around the world could do better to help small businesses grow?
Ooh, let's see. With the COVID lockdowns, I believe that the governments they could have provided like more support for the businesses. So maybe allowing them to, with less restrictions. So let me back up. So in the United States, restaurants were forced to shut down completely. They couldn't operate, and it took a few months for them to be able to operate, like doing a little indoor dining, a little carry out. And so I think that the governments, they could have eased some of those restrictions a little bit and allowed these businesses to operate, in a safe manner rather than like completely shutting them down with no exceptions. And so I believe that, we could have, ease some of those restrictions and allow business to continue. I also believe that the governments here in the United States, we have phenomenal tax deductions, and so that's a way that the government has actually been able to help us. So when your business makes a business acquisition, you're able to deduct that from your taxes, and so that's one blessing that the United States government allows us to do, is that we're able to deduct business expenses from our taxes to reduce the overall tax rate and allow us to expand our businesses even more.
Yes, yeah, and then again, the reason for this question is that like I'm hoping to get to a point where government leaders around the world will start listening to this podcast and start taking notes and be like, hey, these are all policy ideas we should take away and then see how we can help businesses grow. Because it's one of
Hmm.
those things where I keep reiterating that large businesses go away and we need new small businesses to grow into the big large corporations of tomorrow. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, um,
I agree
I
completely.
was thinking as well. So like some of our listeners will be existing entrepreneurs, and some of our listeners will be entrepreneurs or people with an idea but haven't started yet. So I was asked this question as well. It's like if a budding entrepreneur would ask you for one piece of advice, what would it be?
So when you're getting started with entrepreneurship, just know that you're not going to know everything right off the bat. I found that out the hard way in a lot of my businesses. So one way in the book business is I bought a batch of books from a library liquidation that were absolutely terrible that I thought would be, a great profit. And so just know, and also with iPhones, I had bought, a batch of iPhones that had this problem that I didn't know was there, and so I lost quite a bit on that batch. And so just know that when you're getting started and you don't have like a system perfected, just know that you're going to make quite a few mistakes, but those mistakes aren't really mistakes. They're opportunities for you to learn and perfect your system. Even today, I still make mistakes in both my businesses all the time, all too often. And so just know that your entrepreneurship journey isn't going to be, a success story right off the bat. It's going to be a lot of learning. And so the first step to do is to learn about your business and your proposed business idea, and see how you can what's the word for it? I'm sorry. See how you can, you know, um, take one of your interests and actually turn it into a business. And so if you like reading books, you can start a book business. If you like skateboarding, you might be able to start a skateboarding YouTube channel and then get sponsorships from various companies along the way. And so just take one of your interests and see how you can monetize that interest. The next step is to don't invest all your capital into your when you're just starting out into a business. And so you don't want to take your life savings and toss it all into your business that you're just starting, because odds are it might fail. That's a fact of life. And so I would highly suggest starting your business on a small scale and then slowly scaling up. And so I started out by buying a cracked iPhone 4S, in the iPhone business. And then with the book business, I started out with buying, a couple dozen books for like 20 bucks. And so um, let your money snowball as your profits come in, and you can use those profits to expand your business rather than dumping your life savings into a business and then, having it fail on you because, you don't know everything about the business yet.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense, complete sense. Um, so then a bit of a fun question is, if you had a magic wand, what would you want to make happen?
Ooh, so in the business space, what I'd like to see is I'd like to see plenty of educational resources out there for business owners. And so, business owners, there's a lot of resources out there for us when we're just starting out. Tons of people are there offering, insights when you're just starting a business. But when you expand a business, you find that there's not as many educational resources out there when you're, scaling up your business. And so, what I'd like to see out there is I'd like to see an abundance of educational resources for business owners on any level. So any level from just starting out to all the way up, the corporate executive who's running a, billion-dollar company. The more educational resources that are out there, I believe the better businesses will be run.
Yeah, and that's a great point you bring in. It's like, we need more entrepreneurial education, um, from front to back, starting from high school already, to be honest. And then also, like you said, for people that have already been running a business, provide some education like on scaling up, because that can be a bit of like a wall, if you will, where um, you might not always know like how to proceed, and you find out that not everybody in business is your friend, that kind of thing. So that's where
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
that's for
more
sure.
efforts should be spent, because I think a lot of businesses can struggle growing past the small label, quote unquote, because they're not sure how they can break through their barriers. Even some of those
Hmm.
barriers could be mental, but yeah, if there's no, yeah, education in place for people to yeah, move past those barriers, then yeah, that can be hard. Um, and
Hmm.
we need role models as well. Yeah, like if you see people that go like, hey, if that person can do it, that means that I can do it. So representation and such is also very important.
Yeah, I agree completely. Luckily, I've had plenty of role models along the way and mentors that have helped me. And so when I was
Yeah,
just
go ahead.
getting started in the book business, there were some other booksellers out there who were willing to, show me how to check, certain selling statistics on books, and they showed me like how to list the books properly and whatnot on eBay. And so they really helped me along the way, as well as the phone business, because there's a lot of technical aspects of phones. And so there's a whole network of people on Facebook that help each other out, in the phone business, because we're all going through the same thing, the same learning curves when each model comes out. And so just that sharing of information and the willingness to help each other out leads to betterment of everyone.
Yeah, that's is it. Yeah, and in the end, like the market is big enough. It's not a question like, hey, somebody else joins, and like now we're gonna cut into each other's markets, because yeah, there's plenty of fish out there, if you will. Um, so
Hmm.
yeah, it's good to help each other, and then you learn from each other, and there might be something that you know that somebody else doesn't know, and then vice versa. So yeah, that's how we keep growing, and I think that's where the old statement goes from. Like you have to surround yourself with smart people, so you become smarter as well. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, that makes sense, and I can see you're only 15, like give it a few years, and then you're running circles around everybody else. Um, so I'm
Well, thank
waiting
you,
for
sir.
I'm waiting for the Forbes article,
Oh,
and then
jeez.
yeah, it's like I'll be like Jeff Bezos, look out, um, and then like be like no, I don't go for books. I don't go to Amazon anymore. I go to Chancellor. Um, so yeah, that would be cool. Um, I was thinking as well, like have you started working on like a banner, so you can like start working on your like Jeff Bezos had like an Amazon shot where he had a hand painted banner. Have you started working on that one yet?
Ooh, I actually need to start that up, get like a logo and everything created, and
Yeah,
turn my
exactly. Like
bedroom into like the office.
yes, and like make an origin story, and then like when later when you're big, we'll be like, yeah, well, this is how I started, and um, like books around you, that kind of thing. Um,
Hmm.
and then like like
I like that idea. I'll have to put that into
like one of
place.
your yeah one of your interview slogans could be like like it's not just profit, it's interest in books or something like that,
Hmm.
where you can surround yourself with books, that kind of thing. Um, so yeah, thank you for your time. I was gonna say, where can people find you?
So yeah, people can find me on Facebook. I do 99% of my business on Facebook. My name should be spelled in the description, and so you can be able to just search up my name on Facebook and find me right there. And then I'm also on LinkedIn, and so all I have to do is search my name. And then the last place that you can find me is my eBay store, And so if you go to Google, you can just look up Trailsend Books, spelled how it sounds, and I'll be the first. I'll be the first listing in the search results on Google.
Cool. Um, yeah, so I was gonna say for the listeners, wherever you're out there, if you're on the beach, well, maybe not now with COVID, but maybe some lucky people. Um, if you're sitting at home or on the North Pole or on the space station, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will talk to you again next episode.
Thank you for tuning in this week. We hope you enjoyed the show and hope to have you tune in again next episode. See you next time.